just, a small tool of the business building process and especially of the whole sales cycle. So I began, learning and putting a lot myself into sales funnels.
Julius is a personal branding expert and content creation strategist who has built a multi-six-figure business on LinkedIn in less than a year.
You're projecting that you'll generate $1 million a year with your consulting business. How the heck are you going to be generating $1 million a year?
Content creation process, and are there different pillars, or what's the type of it and the process to attract the personality that you want?
Yeah, so to be super practical, what I would say is that my strategy is to detach from the emotions, how you feel about the content. Because if you want to create content that I feel is going to be good, I feel that audience is going to like that. Not always is going to work that way because...
Welcome, Julius.
Hey guys, thank you for having me today.
Impressive. Can't wait to hear about what you're doing.
Right? That's pretty crazy. We are going to dive into all of it here. And again, just really grateful that you're on this episode today. We think that our audience is going to get a lot out of it. So something you had mentioned out there, I saw, which was in September 2022, you had really no clear idea how to make money. Now, that's 2 years ago, actually. Here we are in September now recording this. And I'm curious, fast forward, you're projecting that you'll generate $1 million a year with your consulting business, which is called Martian Living on Earth. First off, I want to hear about that title. And then also, how the heck are you going to be generating $1 million a year?
Foremost, so the title is actually the identity name of me, of who am I and the things that I do. So when I was a little kid, my parents used to call me a Martian because I was always, thinking, wondering, like not so focused, just like like a little kid, and a little bit all over the place. So I've kind of embraced that through the time, and I've expanded it even more. So like following that kind of concept means that you do things that are out of this world. Your dreams are not, defined by the society terms, but are defined rather instead by yourself. The things that you actually want to do, the things that you aspire to achieve, like I've mentioned, that are out of this world. So it's something that I'm building, like, an identity-based business, so I can, attract like-minded individuals who have the same values, where they want to build their own passion-driven business and shape their lifestyle in a way that they want to, shape that lifestyle. So that's a little bit of a background, but
I just have to say real quick on that. I do love that. I can relate to being a bit of a Martian, and I like that you're kind of building a tribe for them, because society has too many people trying to go a certain route, do this sort of thing, whether it's 9 to 5 or whatever. So I really love that. It reminds me, my sister once told me I'm not like most people when I was a kid, which at the time I'm like, well, what? How dare you? What does that mean? But then it's like, why, thank you at the same time. So I love that.
Awesome.
Julius, would you say that's that mindset is from how you grew up, your parents? Like, well, I mean, you're pretty young, 22. So where did that mindset come from?
Good question. It's probably the question that I cannot answer myself till this day. And a lot of people ask me, to be honest.
Aliens.
Yeah. This is where he pulls off his fake face. Yeah.
Yeah, but as much as I remember myself, I was always working, doing something. I was always involved in something. I would say that I didn't have a usual childhood as the other kids, and it's not a bad thing. It's from today's perspective, I would say it's a good thing, because I worked a lot. I played football every single day. I was trying to become a professional football player when I was young. So I had no days off. From Monday to Friday, I had trainings. On Saturday, Sunday, I had football matches. And then, like you repeating that all over again. You have school, you have, some work to do at home. You also want to make some money. So it's like a big combination of a lot of different things that you do on a daily basis. And it's, like for years. So like I've mentioned, it's kind of, a mantra that grew inside me, the way I do things, like how much I give myself to the things that I do, like the attitude and the approach that I do, all of those things as well. So yeah, I began all of my journey like super early. I began doing video content at like 15, 16 year old. And I began gaining a lot of experience, like it's at super early age and working with global brands, like super, super fast expand, my scope and what type of people I'm working with. And just because of the amount of actions I'm taking on a daily basis, I think I'm here, because of that. And even if I look at myself a year ago, I cannot recognize that person anymore.
That's amazing. That's a good sign. That's what they always say is, yeah, you should be able to look at
Yeah.
the following year. With the football, when did you stop pursuing that as a full-time thing?
I think when I was like 17, 18,
Okay.
probably. I still was playing till the last year, but just like, like Sunday league, something like that. But right now I'm treating sports more of a like, a way to feel better, to look better for myself, just like kind of, to sustain that lifestyle. But I like to do, the other sports as well. But
Did the content
yeah.
creation thing just become a bigger passion that you pursued at that time and that took over? Or okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep, got it. Okay, great. So sorry, interrupted. So now here you are again. Next year, you're targeting, this 1 million annual revenue. How the heck are you doing that? Going from not really sure what you were doing 2 years ago to now.
Yeah, so I've invested a lot of resources, time, money. Like I'm constantly doing something. And even in the last like 3.5 months, I've invested like $30,000 just in coaching, mentorship, and gaining different knowledge. So like I'm taking a lot of action. So just to validate the things that I said in the beginning. So this is how much I'm, trying every single day. And that's how strong I believe in the things that I talk about and the things that I teach and the things that I deliver to my clients as well, because they are based on so many different like micro actions that I am taking and that are based on, different types of theories and processes that I've learned all of this time. So yeah, super intentional. I'm super, I'm a big believer. Like I mentioned, I'm a person that has, dreams out of this world. And I think that's something that, what it takes for you to actually turn things into reality. And I've actually had like really, really crazy ideas in the past. And I turned all of them into reality. And every single time, when I said something, this is something I want to do. This is something I want to achieve. Like a lot of people I had, in my life, they said like, you're crazy. Like, what the hell? Like, chill out. Like,
Come
but
party instead. Yeah.
yeah, but it's just like, stick to it, and I earned it. So yeah, simple as that.
That's awesome. And then what's your core areas that you're currently helping people? Like you mentioned, you spent 30,000, dollars towards your own education. Well, that means you must be bringing in, a level of income. And I know you are over, 6 figures now as you work towards the 7 figures. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question because at the beginning, I spent a lot of time just for understanding the content concept, and I went through all of the major social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and then eventually stick to LinkedIn. But down the line, what I've realized that LinkedIn just a small tool of the business building process and especially of the whole sales cycle. So I began, learning and putting a lot myself into sales funnels, into systems automations, into actually understanding the way how you capture attention and how you capture relevant audience and how you work with that audience and push them through the whole sales funnel. So right now, if we have to simplify it even more, my core focus is on personal branding, which is LinkedIn, and building out sales funnels, which is mostly emails and low ticket and high ticket offers. So,
And those offers vary. Like you don't discriminate against any offer because they're kind of a similar model.
yeah, exactly.
Got it. And for you then, as you've built out your own funnel, what has been your main focus to do so? It sounds like LinkedIn is a piece of that. And then are you getting them over to your email, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so just to simplify the whole concept, so my LinkedIn is for creating attention from the audience that I'd like to work with. And then one-on-one conversations on the platform and email become my nurturing tool to continue building relationship with the person. So then they either convert to a customer, which is purchasing a low ticket offer, or straight away to, to becoming a high ticket client of mine. So it's several different sales cycles that I've identified that are the best way for me to go with. Just to give you an example, I began testing paid workshops just recently, and I did one yesterday, and I only did the selling through messages on my LinkedIn profile. So I followed up with people. I did some additional outreach to, previous conversations, and I've collected 2.5K just, from one simple workshop. And I think it's just really good understanding and learning that people, especially these days, they want simple and easy stuff. And especially through low ticket offers, they want to receive, a kind of like a validation that it's possible that they can do it, like implement one or two things from the stuff that you give to them, and then they eventually say like, okay, probably it's going to be easier just to commit working with this person and whatsoever. So yeah, there's a lot to uncover in these things, but
Yeah.
Julius, you mentioned earlier that you people that you want to work with. How do you find on LinkedIn those people that you want to?
I think three things. So the first one is the profile. The profile, I think, works, as my sales manager for attracting relevant response from the people that I want to talk with. Then we have the content that it's also specifically talking about the messages and the topics that I also want to that my brand to radiate towards the right people. And then the last but not least, probably one of the main thing is, one-on-one interaction with the actual person when you are able to understand who's that person. Because in the past, they did a lot of like, really heavy qualification, like how big is the company, how big is their audience, revenue, like a lot of those kind of details and things. While right now, my qualification process is a lot more simple. Like I want to work with the personalities instead of, specific businesses, because I know that I can help a person who is working in 9 to 5 job, but he wants to start his own business and help him, scale to 20K a month as an example. But at the same time, I can help an established 9-figure company as an example, who like a founder who has 200 employees and they want to run their personal branding campaign inside of the company as an example. I can also help with that. But as long as our values aligned and the way we see business is similar, then we're good to go.
Interesting, because would you say big business or literally somebody just starting out once more, it's a similar funnel that's looking at the psychology of what's the initial sort of wins that anybody can get? How do you nurture them through email? Like, does it look the same that way, or does it look completely different for other brands, like bigger brands?
It's completely custom. That's also something that I do with my own offers as well. Like I'm not selling one solution that fits all. I do have a system. I do have a process. I do have a lot of different strategies, frameworks, and etc. But that's the case. I work with a person, so then we can define custom roadmap based on those fundamentals. So at the end of the day, we choose those fundamentals that work, but then, to make the most out of it and, fulfill the expectation, we make it custom, and then, we go with it, get some quick wins in, and then, optimize for a long term.
So have you found, again, being 22, that people at all are like a little hesitant at all? Or are they usually, by the time they talk to you, they're like, but we trust and get it, just because that can be, especially out there when people are like, be wary of anybody out there who's, coming at you like an expert, but they may have never done this before. And obviously your history shows that you have, and you're investing a lot in yourself. But what is that like for you?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different people out there. We have, people who are like big business owners, big sharks, and they make super easy commitments. But then, we have people who are also, super successful in the business, but they like really hesitate before making any decision. So again, it's about the thing that I mentioned previously. It's about, the identity type of thing, like with who you can connect and you can, do business together. Because I work only with people if they do match two different things. First of all, I understand their situation. I can see that I can help them achieve the goal that they shared with me, first thing. And second thing, I do actually, vibe with their energy. Like I actually, feel good talking with them, interacting with them, and it's easy to work with them. So if, I feel positive about those two things, then it's 100% success.
Got it. So by the time you are engaging with somebody, they're usually over the fact of this guy's younger, because they've got a sense of who you were and are like, yeah, we trust. He's knowledgeable. Let's go. And then it's you being more choosy, it sounds like.
Yeah. So I have a lot of stories, and actually one situation that I can share with you. So I had a really interesting conversation with this guy. He is in his 50s, I think, maybe even in his 60s. I don't remember exactly right now. Yeah. So we, got the deal. We just kind of, decided on all the details and everything. And he said, like, how old are you, by the way? And I said, take a guess. And he said, I don't know, 28, 29. I said 22. And he's like, holy shit, So, yeah, like at the end of the day, people will buy from you if they can relate to the offer that you're selling. And the most important part, they see the transformation that you are selling to them. Because at the end of the day, I'm not buying service from you. I'm expecting that I'll become better, or I'll have more in terms of, I don't know, money, more time, something like that. I'm just choosing you as a tool to get to that situation, right? So
it makes sense. And 1 year, or today versus 1 year ago, you are probably showing up a lot more confident, and you have so much more knowledge than you did then. And each year continues to do that. I just got to assume. And I'm saying that for anybody out there who doubts themselves when they start. It's like, just start.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually going to say, talk about self-belief and zero imposter syndrome, because I think those two things probably hold back a lot of people, young or old, from pursuing things and taking action, because it's either I'm too young, maybe I'm too old, or I don't have enough knowledge, or I don't have enough skill. But you definitely have none of that. So well,
I want to actually ask that. Do you have imposter syndrome that shows up still for you?
100%. I think everybody has that. It's just impossible. It's just like some of the people are getting better at fighting imposter syndrome. And that's the only difference. So
yeah. It doesn't come across it, though. You do a really good job of masking.
And I think that with that, this is my assumption too. And I think back to your dedication to what you do. To me, that's where actually imposter syndrome can be somebody's not superpower, but in essence, you can either listen to the imposter syndrome and you can fold and say, I'm not good enough. Or you could say, I hear you, and therefore here's how I'm going to shore that up so that I show up so that nobody knows I feel like I'm, an imposter right now. And I get the sense that you do the latter and are sort of, it just makes you more prepared for what you're going to face.
Yeah. Two things that I really want to emphasize on. If you don't believe in what you're selling, how the hell your client will believe in what you're selling, right? And another thing that I really want to emphasize on, that somebody's out there who has half of your knowledge is more successful because of the fact that they're taking more actions than you, and they just just let it go, and they're going with it. Simple as that.
Yeah. It's a good point. I got this little sign. I admit I need to look at it more often too, but it says somebody else is running right now, which is that idea that when I wake up in the morning, it's like, hey, you got to go because somebody else is out there. And if they're willing to work you. But actually, on that note, there's something really important, I think, about the approach you're taking. And this has happened because of having those, late night sessions, working super hard, that now you're actually focused on not only building this $1 million business, which again, we say $1 million. I'm sure, we talk a year from now, you'll be like, okay, now it's going to be X, you're going to keep raising your targets because that sounds like the type of person that you are. You are doing so in an incredible way, which is you are trying to make sure at least under 8 hours, but 6 hours is specifically what you are trying to do, as well as, you do spend a lot of time traveling around, the world. So you've created, in essence, a lifestyle business that people can only dream of. And like, how is it that you're keeping your hours, limited while also in the scale stage of your business and life?
Yeah. Good question. So I've been doing a lot of back end work in the last 2 months or something, like just to, first of all, just to figure it out, what to optimize, how to optimize that, why to optimize that. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to the fact how you are with the things that you do on a daily basis, how easy to buy from you, how it's easy to get information from you, how many people do you need to, run your business and whatsoever. So a lot of things run around, SOPs in the way you structure everything that you do, how much of the things are optimized and systemized in that sense. So obviously, like, I did work a lot more than that during summer because I was setting up everything. But the example that I gave to you earlier with a workshop, I spent in total sending messages, setting up funnel, collecting payments, talking to people, doing the workshop, collecting material. I think in total, like 3-4 hours maximum.
Okay.
And that got me 2.5K just because of the fact of that I've identified what are my high quality decisions that I need to make, where to find them, how to access them, how to create them, and how to leverage different resources that I have to make the most out of it. Because what is also really important to understand, that we as human beings, we do have a limited amount of high quality decisions that we can make every single day. So if you are doing the commenting, creating content, like doing a lot of stuff that it's kind of, out of your scope, especially when you expect to scale. So how you're going to make a good decision when signing a client, when you spend 4 hours commenting on LinkedIn, which is probably not the best thing for you to do at this point, right? So just to summarize everything, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the fact, how do you systemize, how do you automate, how do you delegate, and with what you're leaving yourself, like with what kind of quality decisions you're leaving yourself with. So at the end of the day, you will spend your time productively. Probably that's the word.
Are you working right now with any team members, VAs, anything like that?
Yeah, I had 2 people. I used to have people at the beginning of the year. We were super profitable. Everything was going like super well, but the problem was, like, there was a lot of work. I didn't have like, well, we had systems, but it was like super, super simple. And that was the big problem. I relied on the wrong resources and I expected, to scale with the wrong tools. And right now I'm in, a situation where I have only 2 people right now. I still make the same money. I work less. I enjoy a lot more the things that I do. And, I'm even, slowly going past that point as well. So I think there's a difference between the quality of decisions I've been making.
It makes a lot of sense to be able to scale the team or scale down the team in that way, but still have the same problem. It shows that you cut a lot of the, pieces that weren't really as beneficial or profitable for the business. What, those 2 team members, what is it that they do for you now?
So they help me a lot with the delivery process with a few content clients that we do work for, because majority of my focus is on consulting coaching. But I still do have a few content clients that we do content work for, and at the same time, these people do help me with technical work, with daily tasks, with management work, with repetitive part of the business and the things that it's easy to outsource. That's it.
Would you like, what are a couple examples there of like the type of stuff?
Yeah, so as an example, like client reports, content ideas, comments, like replies. So then, we are being left only with the personal conversation. At the same time, I think it's really important for me to create my own stuff by myself. So I'm more up to date. I can deliver, a lot more high quality materials to the recipients. And there are, some certain rules that I have for myself. Like I do not outsource my engagement. As an example, I do everything by myself, but I, minimize the amount of time I'm spending on the platform and how I'm spending that time, who I'm talking to. So I stopped chasing and I started to create more rather than instead to just, to do something and wait and expect and try to catch and try to, to chase, to try to be lucky in a way, rather than instead that, I decided to be more efficient and just, to put myself out there, without any expectations.
Julius, you have at least from this conversation, fairly high business acumen, and you seem to have a really good handle on human psychology. Would you attribute that to all the coaching that you have yourself that are investing in, or is there a different source where you've gained that skills?
Yeah, 100%. I was recently actually listening to a podcast, and there was a guy. He's super successful, multi-millionaire, consulting expert, and I completely agree with what he said. And he said that being a millionaire means that you, first of all, drop your ego to the trash bin, get rid of that. Second of all, it's more like 89% of the things that you have in here, not the actual strategies and the things that you do. It's important, absolutely. But the way you approach it and the way you come in as a specialist to do business, that's going to be a deal breaker.
I'm curious to come back to kind of generally how you are approaching the customer acquisition process. And I say that from two angles. One of them is there's probably people listening to this who's like, oh, well, that's interesting. This guy talks about, going from passion to $15,000 a month. I think that's the kind of promise that you have in your LinkedIn and that you talk to. Well, how is it that somebody, I'm going to ask it from 2 points of view. First off, how is it that you are attracting these people? It sounds like it's mainly through LinkedIn, but I'm curious to actually know what journey they go through so that anybody listening to this who is thinking about building this also then understands kind of what you're teaching people to do.
Yeah. So the best clients that I have, I call them the best because of that it was the most like biggest kind of scale for these people. These were the people who were just at the beginning of the process. They were just, in the first year of their business, making, up to 10K a month, feeling kind of successful, but they're just like kind of lost and are not sure which the next step they should be taking. And this is the best client persona, the easiest client persona that you can work with. And actually, a really interesting situation, the second example, is where we have like super accomplished business owner who's making, let's say, $30,000 a month. But the problem is that they are working a lot. They are reselling their time. They do have a really strong skill set, but they do not know how to systemize it and how to, turn that into an asset. And instead of working in business, work on their business, So those are kind of the main key personas that I would identify that the usual way how people are, get to me and say like, hey, Julius, let's talk. Let's see, if there's anything that we can, do.
Because in that case, they're seeing the value you're putting out on LinkedIn, because that's your main focus, right? You're not on not to say you're not on any other platforms, but that's where you spend the majority of your time, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So they're seeing here that, oh, wow, look at what this guy's saying. I relate to this. And those who have already done something are even more likely to actually want to take the action, and they feel stuck and they have money coming in. So it's easier for them to probably justify. And that's maybe what makes them a little bit better even of that customer versus say somebody who's brand new, not to say you can't help them as well, because I'm sure you can, but the brand new person may still be kicking tires, not quite sure what they want to do, hasn't done as much. So your content is written in a way that probably is it more attractive to those who already have an established business, or do you kind of create it more broadly regardless of whether people have a business or not?
I did niche down in the past, and it was great because I've got some really cool clients. To be exact, it was more related to real estate industry. I do like that industry. I'm heavily, interested in the things that are happening in the industry. I'm, investing myself. But the problem is that, like I've mentioned, my skill set enables me to help a person who's just at the beginning of the process and the person who has, let's say, 100 million real estate portfolio and they just don't know how to, make some extra cash of the skill set that they have. Like they don't know how to monetize it properly. So that's why I've decided to focus on the personalities, like on the people of who they are, so I can at the end of the day I can work with people that do think the same as me. So at the end of the day, we can create a custom plan, and then we can follow it together.
Julius, can you talk about your content creation process, and are there different pillars, or what's the type of it and the process to attract the personality that you want?
Yeah, so we could probably record a separate podcast about it because there's a lot to share and talk about. But just to be super practical, what I would say is that my strategy is to create content that I like. I don't want to create content just out of the situation that it's something that somebody told me to do, because first of all, it's not reflecting who I am and the things that I want to talk about, and it's not attracting the right audience in terms of the mindset side of things, like I've mentioned. The things that I've defined for myself, I do have several content pillars, and at the same time, what I also leverage a lot, I repurpose pieces that I did in the past, content pieces that I written long time ago or written last week. So I do not try to reinvent the wheel. I take what's already written, I make it better, upgrade it, make it more up to date, and create a new content piece out of it. Especially if something did a great job 2 months ago, let's say. That's a sign. That's a sign that I should do it again. People love that. So I would say it's super simple. Again, like we're coming again to the same thing that do not overthink it. Just the more you think, the more you try to make it better, perfect, and whatsoever, the more damage you could even make to it. So testing out, figuring out what works, and then sticking to those learnings, it's the best strategy out there. And another thing, last thing, is that you need to detach from the emotions, how you feel about the content. Because if you want to create content that I feel is going to be good, I feel that audience is going to like that, not always is going to work that way, because at the end of the day, you also want to make business out of it. So that's why you have to analyze the data and analyze the work that you did. So at the end of the day, you would appear, as relevant guy who is not just, writing for attention, but actually writing for business. And I know that I mentioned that I write content that feels good to me. And right now I'm talking about completely the opposite. But just to summarize probably everything, like finding that golden middle between both of them is the best way to perfect it. Yeah.
I think something that you said there too, I think that I know I've struggled with, and I'm thinking Arten's in the same boat too, is that at times it's easy for somebody to be like, well, sure, that one might have resonated, but I wrote about it now. And it's like, there's this thing in our brain that tells us, well, I don't want to look like I'm writing about the same stuff again. Whereas the reality is there's so many people who never saw it when it got posted. And there's so much out there. And any of the prolific content creators on, LinkedIn as an example, or anywhere for that matter, they repurpose and reuse all of the time. So it's this sort of invisible belief, I think, that we have at times to think that somehow we shouldn't repeat the same thing, because honestly, everything anybody's saying is a repeat of what somebody else said. It just in a slightly different manner. So why not leverage your own stuff? In fact, sometimes literally, if there's enough time and somebody spent a lot of time putting work into carousels and other things like that, there's no reason to not repurpose that whole thing exactly as it was, because you're going to hit a different audience. So anyway, I'm glad you said it, because I think it's just so important for people to realize that don't be afraid, instead listen to your audience, to the data, and then respond accordingly. And if you find something that people really enjoy, then maybe that's what you could tell, through different ways. Maybe at one point it's a list, maybe another way it's this personal story, and so on and so forth. So
to piggyback on that, but maybe play a little bit of a devil's advocate at the same time. Sometimes I feel like talking about different things that I care about. Like and I'll get specific on it. I enjoy talking about leadership. Like, and Michael, I think, is similar, especially when it comes to leadership. We kind of thrive and pride ourselves in our leadership ability, in our teams that were in the dozens, and we manage huge teams. At the same time, there's things that we like to talk about around career. And, since we've grew in the corporate world, we're pretty good at talking about how to get somebody from a junior level to mid-management to executive. Like, we can probably help you out very easily. At the same time, we have entrepreneur backgrounds too. We like talking about entrepreneurship and all. But when you put all those different things together, all of a sudden it seems like we're all over the place. And that's, I feel like, has been my struggle on LinkedIn. It's like, well, there's these things I want to talk about. Maybe they don't directly relate to business, but I like it. And then when you post it, you get very little engagement. And then you're like, oh my God, what just happened? What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's a pretty complex thing, I would say. Just to give an additional perspective. So I see a lot of people, who are just, creating content that it's fun, different situations, funny stories and whatsoever, memes. It's another, topic on the platform. And people do love that. Like, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. At the end of the day, it's platform for humans. And we're not always, professional in suits, making business, trying to buy, sell things. We're also, like to laugh, to relate to something, and like to, to see ourselves in, different situations, not only, in the business as well. And that's, an additional aspect, the brand that you can build on the platform as well, because you can, appear as, that kind of person, who is, kind of likes to be more fun, a little bit more open, perhaps, about different things. Who likes to, take bold statements out of the shadows, and like to, to talk about the unpopular stuff, but understanding it how to do in a quality way. Like how to structure the messaging, how to structure the text, how to structure the visuals, how to align that to your brand, and how to make an extension out of it. That's, another topic. But it's doable. It's, completely doable, and people do love that. And there are a lot of different examples how people do that pretty successfully. So.
And I think personally, I think the combination of those things, like I think leadership can get mixed in there with the entrepreneurship or the career, just as an example, relatively easy, because I don't think that's too far of a stretch. But all three of them, while somebody can, and I think actually a decent example out there is Ramit Sethi, who basically turns it into like helping people live a rich life. And he looks at things, around there. Now, he may not focus as much directly on leadership, but the career aspect, entrepreneurial, that's how he buckets them all. So I think it kind of depends on the narrative and the theme of whoever it is talking. But I think Alex Hormozi has kind of recently said, yeah, he's moving away from, like, he would talk about business, he would talk about leadership, he would talk about heck, gym, working out, eating, like all these things. And what he realized in the end, he goes, look, for the sake of the business now, the day, what we're doing, I'm going all in on business, and I'm not talking about those anymore. Meanwhile, his wife and partner, Layla Hormozi, is on the leadership and the career side of it. So I do think that depending on where one is in their career, niching down is going to help you attract more of those initial people, because otherwise you're spreading your message out so much that you're not going to probably attract. You may attract people who are like, oh, I'm career, I'm this, but let's face it, if anybody who's attracted that way is probably spread too thin themselves, that they're going to probably struggle to focus on any one area. So I do think there's a huge benefit to the self-control, even if every now and then I think about it like some actors in Hollywood who are like, okay, I'll do 2 for the studio so I could then do the 1 project for myself. So, I think in your writing the same way, you can toss your one in there every now and then you care about, or maybe that's where your email list comes in and you go in and you share something on this. But I think you're going to need to keep it as focused as possible for the people you're trying to attract. Otherwise, it's going to be so broad that it's hard to connect with anyone. And I think that's some of the struggle we've had, Art, with some of the things we've had when we created it, which is why our traction initially, despite what, experts out there would say, I was like, oh, dang it, on LinkedIn. It can be, it's so simple, but so hard at the same time because you're fighting your own psychology. Julius, I'm curious, the tools that you do use in your business, especially as you talked about, like, I know SOPs is one thing, but some of the automation and other things. So like, what are the softwares that you leverage on a daily basis to make your life easier?
ClickFunnels, Zapier to connect everything all together, ConvertKit for emails, Falk for CRM system, Notion for project management, and for my own stuff to work on. A lot of different mini documents that I use as well. Google Drive, several AI tools, Calendly for bookings, like a lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the AI tools?
So I use Sybil AI for meetings. I found it useful. Sometimes I like to use, especially when talking to people, Humantic AI. It's something that, goes through the person's profile and then, presents with different tips how to talk to that person, how to sell to.
Humantic?
Yes, Humantic AI. Yeah. PT, obviously. But yeah, I don't want to just, to overcomplicate things in the process for myself as well. So I try to keep it simple. So a few tools that I could give to you.
Yeah, very interesting. That would be great. And if nothing else, too, we'd love to just kind of link here so that people can understand and see some of the things you're planning. Even though at the same time, we will warn everybody, just because we link them here doesn't mean you should action fake and just spend all your time researching those instead of actually moving forward with, with learning, which, Art and I have a big bias towards, actually finding the people. It's the, who, not how, who've done this before so that you can cut through all of the, initial trial and error that most people go through that sometimes burns them out, that they don't even, continue to move forward. So with that, how can people actually reach out to you if they wanted to get in contact?
LinkedIn, the easiest probably way.
Easy enough. I have to say that shows that focus there is when you could just say that one single one, because it is interesting how people on there like, well, LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on YouTube, which might be true for some people, but at the same time, it's like, okay, great, but where is the best way to do it? So, okay, LinkedIn, and then on there, they can reach out to you. You also have, and I think they could get to this through LinkedIn, through your profile page. Anybody who's interested, you have your email list where they're able to also subscribe, but ultimately they can date you first on LinkedIn, see if they want to go further in that relationship, at which point, there's different ways that you'd be able to help support them. Sound right?
Absolutely.
Final couple questions here. I am curious for you, again, regardless of age, there are things that have obviously influenced you in your life and created who you are. If you had to name maybe two of your core sort of superpowers that you think have helped you be where you're at now and on this, track to, hit the million a year status, what would that be?
Belief and resilience. 2 words, probably, because I believe enough in the things that I, first of all, talk about and the things that I do and the things that I want to achieve and I want to have. That's the first one. And resilience. So business building process and overall life, is can be super, super difficult at times. But the problem is with people that they do understand that it's, the final point, like everything ends there. And, not exactly. It's just, the small, bump that you face along the way in your journey. But with time, you get better at managing those like fires and things that you have. So belief and resilience.
Got it. And then would you say there is any regret you have thus far, or are you really happy with where you're at and there's nothing that you would go back and change, or kind of conversation you have with yourself 5 years ago?
Not at all. Not at all. I fully embrace everything I did. I believe that everything that I did was for a reason when I was, at a certain point. And I still, continue do the best what I can do, in a specific point. And obviously, I learn a lot of different things along the way from the things that I'll gain from different, situations. But would I change that? Not at all. No.
Yeah, that's great. I will say that we're excited to follow your, journey, see where you're at. We may even have to have that follow up in the future here where we're like, okay, did you hit the goal? And if not, though, I have no doubt. And this is, just with those 2 words that you used to describe it, it's like, I have no doubt that at that point, that you are on track for there. If nothing else, you'll come back and you'll either be like, 30,000 away, or you'll say something along the lines of, oh, forget that. I'm now aiming for this next goal. And I love that focus. I love what you're moving towards. I think a lot of people can do that same when applying, themselves in a way that you are. And you just see your laser focus and the things that you're saying no to so that you could say yes to all of this has just helped you create this lifestyle that, again, I think many, many people would love to have if we could just get out of our own darn ways, is I think a key piece of it. So Arton did have this question. He had said earlier, Arton, passion, you were saying he could take anybody from their passion to, 15K. Were you questioning if that applies to all passions, Arton?
Yeah, I think that could be another different episode, but would love to kind of debate that one a little bit around, is it really possible, and is it just certain passion? But maybe we can save that for a different time.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much. And if you all enjoyed this episode, we've got another one up here that you might want to check out. We'll talk to you later, Julius.
Thank you so much.